we're returning to the theme of Father's Day. Two things I want to do. I want to take you through something very dark and then something very light. I'm going to read to you something. So what have we had so far? We've had grief, we've had absence. We know society sells us the message of celebration and joy, and that's all good, but I'm not going to cover that so much today. And here is probably the worst of the lot, and this is fathers who neglect their job so much that they become abusive. This is a reading from my second novel, which is sort of a work in progress at the moment, and it's from the perspective of a young woman living in Warrnambool, actually working at the abattoir. She's a surfer with a bit of attitude. Hopefully it's not too cliche. But anyway, what's in a name? They call me Pepsi, but my real name's Maxine. Pepsi Max, you know, as in a soft drink. Yeah, that's right. The name's an insult, I suppose. A good name for a crazy girl from a rich family, for an extrovert gone supernova, for a girl who zips around out of control like a tripper popping no-dos. But I don't really care what people say. I mean, what's in a name anyway? In high school, they used to call me Dinger. Yep, you got it, last name Ansel, as in the condom manufacturer. Anyway, one day, this boy came up to me in year 8, flanked by his mates, hands me a condom and says, "Hey Dinger, looks like you dropped something." I kicked the bastard in the balls so hard that no one ever called me Dinger again. Pepsi. It ain't so bad. It's a name that a person can get used to. Careful. You can call me Pepsi, but you better be careful. Don't you shake me, because I'm likely to explode in your face. All at sea. I'm all at sea. First, there's the surge, followed by the rush. As lying on my surfboard, my hands excavate water, fingers panning for hold. I am all at sea. Feeling the lactic burn across my shoulder blades and the slow building elevation from behind. Digging deep, I fight to catch the wave. I am all at sea. Dumped on by the voices of others. They spit my name. "Get off our wave, Pepsi," they cry. But I don't ever flinch. I am all at sea on the edge of the precipice, caught in that one long moment between my efforts and the falling. Now, hands grabbing rails and pushing up. One smooth motion, feet to deck, but the timing must be right. Gutful, I spread and hold, and I am up, and I am away, and I am exactly where I need to be. Gloriously, all at sea. The Butcher, part 1. It's funny how all those smug guys on their surfboards like to flick their wet, salty locks before hurling abuse. "Stop butchering our waves, Pepsi," they laugh. They love to use the word butcher. So what if I work in the abattoir? I scream inside my head. So what if I stink of congealed blood at the end of each shift? So what if they all know my dad's a surgeon, my mum's a real estate agent, and I'm my family's grubby little secret, the rich girl gone bad, slumming it with the mish? They can all get stuffed. Butcher the wave, yeah, I get the jokes, assholes, and I'm only too happy to oblige. See that wave? Well, watch me ride it. I'm going to carve it right up. The Butcher, part 2. Perched up here on this surfboard in my black armoured wetsuit, I feel alive. Out here there is no past, no future, just me, this moment, and the surging green waters beneath. Behind me, the lip of a breaking wave stalks me as I ride. Stalks me like the memory of my father's face at night. Yet I know that if I can stand tall, if I can stay strong, that if I can just hold my nerve right here, right now, everything's going to be alright, isn't it? Butcher, part 3. The bloated, fat wave beneath me is a flank of meat. I cut the flesh with bladed fins, twist, flick and turn. The waters part, bleed regrets and seal upon my leaving. Yes, out here I can rage, I can cut, I can hack, I can be my own serial killer, murdering the ghosts of my past. The final poem is actually a poem from when she's working on the kill floor at the abattoir, which I actually visited, which was quite an interesting experience. Flashes back through time. Sometimes, when I'm working up a rhythm on the line, the numbness fails me, and I'm transported back to another time another place. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I get flashes inside my head. His naked flesh, wet with sweat, his hands groping breasts, bed sheets scrunched to fists or candlelight, and the way they cast their stories upon the wall. Sometimes, instead of flashes, I remember sounds. The chink of Johnny Walker on ice, the midnight creak of floorboards, or the wet squelch of skin upon skin. Carcass art. That's how I cope on days like these. I cut, I shape, and I sculpt. Carving out Frankenstein, the likeness of his face onto meat. Yes, I cut, I shape, and I sculpt, until staring back at me in sinewy relief is a portrait. My father, my monstrosity. So for some people, their fathers let them down, and they have nothing to celebrate on a day like today. But let's move back to some more hopeful ground. And the thing I want to leave you with, I've only got a little bit to read now, is the fact that perhaps we need to think more broadly of Father's Day and think about ourselves as a human family, and that we all actually have a role, female, male, of being a parent, parental figure, a father, a mother. And the opportunities in our lives will continue to present themselves where we can play that role for other people. And that's important because people are let down. And we all have a responsibility to take on that role. In the story Taste of Apple, towards the end, part of the health of these young boy, Pedro, as he grows up, is that he actually gets the chance to play the role of a father for a small girl living in commission flats in inner city Melbourne, 5-year-old girl without a father. And he also has his friend Johnny, who he meets along his journey, who's an asylum seeker from East Timor. And they start hanging out in a community garden at the base of the commission flats in Richmond. And this poem is called Evie Arrives. 5-year-old Evie finally arrives in the community garden and is guided down the path by old Mr. Santiago. Walking hand in hand, the pair stops directly in front of me and Johnny. Dressed in a light blue dress, her hair tied back in a ponytail, Evie lets go of Mr. Santiago's hand and skips over to me. "Give me 5, Pedro, she says, holding up her palm. Giving me some skin, Evie then returns towards Johnny, sitting on the ground, and asks, "Why are you looking so scared, little monster?" Evie's words have an immediate effect. "Who says I'm scared?" Johnny smiles and shouts in his best monster's voice. Johnny then removes his guitar from its case and immediately starts to belt out a tune. "They call me the music monster, but I'm not so sad. I'm just hungry." Evie squeals with delight as Johnny reaches out to tickle her tummy. When the tickling finally stops, Evie plonks herself down on the ground, mesmerised by Johnny. Evie begs him to keep on singing. Johnny gladly obliges. And as I kneel back in the dirt and return to the inglorious work of pulling out weeds, Johnny sings song after song, pulling out happiness instead. Reinvigorating. The perfect tonic for being stoned has got to be a smiling 5-year-old girl. After singing her a stack of songs, Johnny spends the rest of his time with Evie exploring the community garden. At one point, I watch with surprise as Evie pushes Johnny to the ground and jumps on him, whooping laughter. Later on, I lift my eyes from the ground, only to see Evie sitting on top of Johnny's shoulders, Johnny spinning her around and around in dizzying circles. And then, it's a grand finale. I watch with interest as Johnny flings himself to the ground, time and time again, trying to catch a runaway chicken from the garden's chook shed. Standing behind him, Evie claps and cheers as Johnny finally catches the poor, terrified bird. "It's good to have you back, Johnny," I think to myself, as I watch Evie reach out and pat the chicken trapped in Johnny's arms. It's good to have you back. And the final poem I'm going to read from you perhaps encapsulates best this idea of a human family. I visited a community garden based at the bottom of commission flats it was actually in Flemington. And there was a great sense of community there, and people were actually in a place that would be very difficult to live, helping each other, guiding each other, and that's the spirit I want to leave you with when we think about Father's Day today. or in the garden. Straight-staked winter vegetables, borderline perfect, in weedless plots of manicured earth. Ugly car tires, sprouting tufts of green foliage. Caged garden beds, warning intruders to stay out. A dish rack gate, swaying in the morning breeze. Big painted letters, hung from the perimeter fence, spelling out the words Eden Gardens, reflecting hope inwards. The sculpture of a woman made entirely of old car parts, her skeleton veined by shoots of climbing bougainvillea. Other gardens, tangled labyrinths, snarling green, snapping at CDs dangled from a string overhead. A communal garden shed, plastered in limestone posters in 5 different languages. A wooden seat carved into the shape of the moon, and a scarecrow dressed in a Collingwood jumper, its hair a plume of magpie feathers, heckling at those passing by. All around us, a garden. All around us, so much more. All around us, an ocean of human endeavour. Bent back, calloused hands, words of advice. Green waves of creation, dotted